What's up YouTube? My name is Ruff and today we're gonna take this song
I dug my key into the side of this pretty little souped-up four-wheel drive.
and honestly I have no idea what genre to call it, but we're gonna turn it into this.
I took a Louisville slugger to both headlights, crashed a home and all 4 tires. And baby, next time I think before he hits you.
Alright, cool. So let's dive right into the Ableton project file and start with the verse. So here we have a guitar from Contact Electric Sunburst playing the Wanderlust pattern. Just playing these chords, not a ton of processing, just a little bit of EQ, and that sounds like this. And then layered on top of that is this plucky guitar. It's a sample from, I believe, Oliver that I chopped up and then bounced out and froze. And I have it slowly automating in volume. So once these drums start in the next section of the verse, it adds a little more rhythm that sounds like this. But what's really going to take up a lot of the space in the verse is the atmosphere, especially this piano. So it's playing this rhythmic pattern with a ton of reverb. As far as processing, we got a lot of EQ, just taking out these frequencies here. And that's what's adding to the overall rhythm since it's such a slow BPM. So you make it feel just a bit faster, and then we layer that with these atmospheres. And then as far as the chords go, we don't want to overlayer everything in the verse since that atmosphere is taking up so much space. So all we have is this choir patch from Serum with a bit of saturation and some EQ, and that patch looks like this from Coda Echo Soundworks. And then we layer that with this pad I made just using a saw. That looks like this. And then we're automating this cutoff. So as we get into the next section, it slowly rises. And then we just have this respace here from Silent from the MHA pack, just adding a bit more beef to the lows. Nothing too crazy though. Then for our drums, we got these shakers, rides, and snaps that sound like this. But what I want to point out is that these snaps I actually put into a sampler and I played them on my Ableton Push, so you can see how they're slightly off the grid, which adds this humanistic feel so everything doesn't feel so quantized and computerized. Then these shakers and rides have some auto pan on them just to give some movement, but they're super low in the mix, so you don't really hear them, but you feel them. So then all together, our verse sounds like this. So starting with the chorus, the main focus are these pianos. So we got this one from Nexus, just the like piano ballad grand preset. Sounds like this. With some OTT and some EQ taking out some of the like higher mids at 1K. And then that's layered with this M1 Korg house piano with a lot of EQ taking out those mids and a little boost in the highs. So when you layer them together, they sound like this. Then bounced, frozen out, and reversed just to add that like push-pull sucking in feeling. So now with the reverse. Then for the bass, we have that same Reese, just a little bit higher in volume, but we layer that in the build section of the chorus with this electric bass from Nexus, the E-Bass 1, just playing this syncopated rhythm. So together it sounds like this. Just to add that build-up feeling to this section. Now the build-up drums sound like this. So breaking those down, we got this Cashmere long fill, which is doing a lot of the like kind of legwork of this build layered with this other loop. But then we got this Travis Barker kick, with little pitch bend on it, as well as this Barker snare I layered in. Then this stop from Cashmere. But the coolest part about this build is I have these two hey chants. One's pan left, one's pan right. And they're just going back and forth, just adding like a lot of energy. And then this fill from MHA going into the drop. Then going into the drop, obviously we're going to start with these guitars, which are from, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, Electric Sunburst from Contact. So, going into the entire group, they sound like this. And all that effect is this filter opening and closing. Just to add more impact when the drop hits. And processing wise, just some EQ across the board, taking out some of those harsher frequencies. But on the group, I'm parallel sending them to this Ableton amp with some decapitator, just adding some distortion, some EQ boosting the highs, taking out some of the mids, and then some sidechain compression, as well as some filters and utilities, just to add those transitions at the end of the drop. So all the guitars in the drop, when they hit, so then moving into the drop bass, we got this E bass from Nexus. It's the deep and low preset. Sounds like this. Then we got a few layers of a saw bass with some glue compression. This iHeart NY parallel compressor, which is super, super dope. And the sub sounds like this. Some radiator, just giving it a little more saturation. This gritty bass 1. Taking out a lot of the highs. And then all the basses together. I definitely want to take a very deep dive into the drums because they're super, super in-depth in this track. So they sound like this. So the kick is clipping like holy heck. And I fixed that in a mixdown project. But the kick is 2 layers. It's this first layer from the Fairlane pack, with the drum bus, some EQ taking out some frequencies at 1K, and then a fab filter just doing some wonky, almost like multi-band compression that I did with a dynamic EQ, and it sounds like this. Then I just layered that with this sub-ear kick just to give a bit more lows. Taking out all the highs and really just leaving that low end. So if we keep the kick soloed and then go down to the drums, we got this snare clap, which is a few layers. We got that bottle crashing on every 4, and then halfway through we got this like Foley snare, then some loops. But what I really, really feel drives this drum loop the most is this breath. So it just sounds like this. It's literally just me breathing into the mic. But if we solo all the drums together again and take it out, loses a lot of that movement. Bring it back in. And then for the atmosphere in the drop, this is something super, super sick. I want to give a shout out to Portal by Output for, because it pretty much makes the whole atmosphere group. So it sounds like this. It's very quiet in the mix, but this piano right here is the same exact one as the one from the verses, and it's in the drop again, just with a faster rhythm this time. But on this one that comes in halfway through the drop, I put Portal by Output with this data extension preset, and it's literally just gives such a weird, granular, like delayed, glitchy feeling. And then with all the atmosphere together again. But it's just those weird little things that you could put in your tracks and your drops especially that don't make it feel so computerized and so like quantized on the grid and perfect. So then when we put it all together and bring the vocal back in, you get this.
Right now, he's probably slow dancing with a bleach blonde champ, and she's probably getting frisky. Right now, he's probably buying her some fruity little drink, cause she can't shoot whiskey. Right now, he's probably up behind her with a pool stick, showing her how to shoot a combo.